This video will show you how to determine what type of bond is present in a chemical compound. Now, the three types of bonds that we will cover in this video will include ionic bonds, covalent bonds, and metallic bonds. So let's review over the three types of chemical bonds. Ionic bonds are bonds that are formed between a metal and a nonmetal. Generally, one element will lose an electron while the second element gains the electron. So we see a transfer of electrons. An example of this would be sodium chloride or table salt. A second type of chemical bond is a covalent bond. Now this is a bond that's formed between two nonmetals. The elements will share the electrons, and we will see this on any type of organic compound or compound containing carbon. We will not differentiate between polar covalent and nonpolar covalent bonds at this time. The third type of chemical bond is a metallic bond. Now this is the type of bond that holds metals together, so we do see a sharing of electrons, and we would see this in copper or aluminum anytime that we have two metals being held together. So before we can learn to look at a chemical compound and determine whether or not we have a metallic bond, ionic bond, or a covalent bond, we have to first go back over the periodic table. Now what I want you to do is, as you look at the table, I want you to notice this stair-step area that we have right along here. Now this is separating our metals from our nonmetals, and if you will remember, we do have our metalloids located right along the stair steps. So if we can look at our table and see that all of these elements are metals and these elements over here are nonmetals, and you understand that, then by having a periodic table in front of you and having the chemical compound in front of you, you should be able to look at the chemical compound and determine whether or not it is ionic, covalent, or metallic. Here we have some examples, and let's go through and see if we can identify these as ionic, covalent, or metallic. Now on this first one right here, NO2, if we go back and look at the periodic table, we will see that both N and O are nonmetals. So we would see this as being a covalent bond. Now our next one, we have sodium hydride. Sodium is a metal. Hydrogen, while it's on the metal side, if you look at the periodic table, it floats up above group 1. It is classified as a nonmetal. So here we would have an ionic bond. Sodium being the metal and the hydride being the nonmetal. With mercury, we would see that as a metallic bond. The H2S, hydrogen and sulfur, are both nonmetals, so we have a covalent bond. Sulfate, if we look up what sulfate is SO4 with a -2 charge. Both sulfur and oxygen are nonmetals, so we have covalent bonding. Nitrogen and hydrogen, that's NH4 plus 1, that is ammonia, and both nitrogen and hydrogen are nonmetals, so we have a covalent bond. Aluminum by itself makes metallic bonds. Phosphate, again, if we look up phosphate, that is PO4 with a -3 charge. Both phosphorus and oxygen are nonmetals, so we have a covalent bond. KH, potassium hydride. The potassium is a metal. The hydride is a nonmetal, so we have an ionic bond. Potassium chloride. Potassium is a metal. Chlorine is a nonmetal. Ionic. Hydrogen fluoride, both are nonmetals. Covalent. Carbon monoxide, CO, if we look on the periodic table, both of those are nonmetals, that is covalent. Now this next CO, that's big C little o, that's the standard for cobalt. That is a metallic bond. And it is that simple in determining ionic, covalent, and metallic bonds.